Genesis. Naruto Uzumaki was infuriated. He stood in a dome of mirrors, fists clenched and shaking. Sasuke Uchiha lay dead at his feet, killed by their opponent. The masked boy, Haku, came out of the mirror he was hiding in. "I'm sorry. He shouldn't have to die. But such is the way of a ninja. We are nothing but tools. And I broke him." Naruto didn't even want to correct him, to help him, to change him. All he wanted was that boy dead. "Shut up." Was his voice different? He didn't care to think about it. "I hate you. You will die." Haku was truly sad he killed Naruto's friend. But the notion that he would die at the hands of this orange ninja was ridiculous. Haku had just kept them at bay, with barely any effort. He nearly laughed, but kept it in check. "I'm sorry, Naruto. But you can't kill me. You couldn't even touch me in." "You think I care?" Red chakra was seeping out of him now, and power was radiating out of him. Haku took a step back. "Where did this come from?" "You killed him. He was my teammate. My friend. A precious person. And you killed him. You will die now." Haku slid back into his mirror for protection, and felt safe for the moment. He pulled out some saban, ninja throwing needles, and started to throw them at Naruto. They never hit. Naruto, rage building, screamed out in anger, unleashing his chakra. The power was so immense that the saban were flung back, and Haku's mirror was shattered. Haku himself was shot out of his safe haven, thrown some 20 feet, landing hard on the bridge. "How did you?" Haku was cut off, as Naruto nearly instantly had a fist to Haku's mask, shattering it and throwing him into the bridge wall. Naruto slowly walked to the bleeding and battered boy, red chakra swirling around him. The mist obscuring Haku's view, coupled with his fleeting vision, made Naruto a dark figure in the middle of a maelstrom of menacing chakra. Had he been a lesser ninja, Haku would have passed out from fear. Naruto lowered his clawed hands to Haku's shoulders slowly, resting them there for a second. Haku screamed out as Naruto clenched his hands, piercing Haku's muscle and bone. Naruto did this with such force, he was actually holding Haku's bones in his fists. Haku was raised up to his feet, screaming in agony. In reflex, his hands flew up to Naruto's arm in a feeble attempt to stop Naruto. "You're a dead man." The pure intent to kill scared Haku, making him clench onto Naruto's arms tighter. Naruto didn't even notice. He released Haku with his left hand, making Haku drop his right arm in uselessness, pulling it across his own face, ready to backhand, pimp slap, Haku's head off. Haku knew he was about to die. Oh god. This is it. Naruto snarled, tensed one more time, and then dropped Haku suddenly. "What the hell was that?" Naruto asked after a scream of pain. Haku was confused, then looked at Naruto's arm. It looked almost frozen. Did I do that?" He looked at his useless hands, bewildered. "Can't move. I'm a goner. I'm sorry, Zabuza-sama." Haku tilted his head back, not wanting to look at the beast that was going to kill him. He noticed how the sky looked somehow darker than it did earlier. Maybe it's the blood loss. Or the mist is thicker. Maybe a cloud moved in front of the... His thoughts were cut off, as Naruto's clawed hand just ripped through the boy's throat, sending his dead body a few feet through the air. Naruto let out a roar, a victorious shout. He panted for a few moments, reveling in the feeling of the power he now had at his disposal. Then, as suddenly as it came, it was gone. Naruto felt the strength leave him, and he fell on his back, nearing unconsciousness. He was disgusted at the blood he was laying in, but wasn't in the mood to move. Was the sky darker than usual? Maybe it was just a cloud or something. Kakashi Hatake had won. Zabuza was pinned to the spot by his ninja dogs, their jaws dug into his flesh. After the explosion of chakra he never wanted to feel again, he walked over to check on his students. The mist was clearing, allowing him to see much more clearly. Sakura Haruno, a pink-haired adolescent girl, was in relatively good condition, having to only had to protect their client. She was currently crying over Sasuke, who was dead. Kakashi walked over and stood next to her. He rolled his eyes. "Of course she has no idea he's alive. I shouldn't expect them to look at the body to see if he's breathing. I need to get her out of this fangirlism she's in. Sakura, he's alive. Stop crying over it." He turned to walk towards Naruto, currently lying on the ground. He slightly flinched when he heard Sakura squeal over the Uchiha, who Kakashi assumed was waking up. "Oi, Naruto, what happened?" Naruto lazily looked over to his sensei, then back to the sky. "I won." Kakashi looked over to the boy, who got tossed to the uncompleted edge of the bridge.
I can see that.
What was that chakra? Kakashi wondered if Naruto knew exactly what he had done. Probably Kyuubi's. It felt so evil. I don't want to use it again.
Good idea.
Kakashi squatted next to Naruto. You know though, you might have to eventually. Naruto sighed. I thought so. If I was stronger though, I wouldn't have to, right?
Maybe.
I hope so. Kakashi-sensei, Haku said that ninjas are just tools. Weapons to be used by someone. Is that true?
Partly.
While we are tools, we shouldn't let that define us. I'm Kakashi first, then a toolie. You're Naruto, then a toolie. It's not always nice, but it's the way of the ninja.
You know, I don't like that.
I'm gonna change it. My nindo is that I'm my own person. I'll never go back on my word, and I will protect my precious people with my life. That's my nindo. My ninja way. Well, I hope that works for you, Naruto. Come on, let's go get Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke's alive? Naruto jumped up and ran over to his fallen friend. Kakashi chuckled, he'll get stronger. Much stronger. The Jonin stood up and walked over to Zabuza, ready to finish this. He stood in front of the missing nin, kunai in hand. Well Zabuza, are you ready to die? No. But you're going to kill me anyway. So go ahead and do it. A voice rang out across the bridge. Well. What do we have here? Did big, bad Zabuza get hurt? A small, fat man was standing in front of numerous bandits, all with sinister looks on their faces. Zabuza growled, Gato. Gato laughed a high laugh, failing to sound dark or intimidating. Since you're almost dead anyway, you're fired. I wasn't going to pay you anyway. How stupid are you? Gato walked over to where Haku was sprawled. That reminds me, you little punk. You grabbed me and nearly broke my arm. I've been meaning to repay you for that. Gato reared back his leg and kicked the dead body. Huh. I only wish he was alive to feel it. Gato used his cane to poke Haku's face. Zabuza looked at Kakashi. Well Kakashi, it would seem our fight is at an end. Since I am no longer in Gato's employ, Dazunai is safe. Let me go and I'll get out of your hair. Are you kidding me? Naruto yelled, getting his second wind. You're gonna let him do that to Haku? Be quiet, you fool. Haku's dead, what does it matter? What? You mean you can just stand here and watch Haku get treated like a dog? You and Haku were together for years, doesn't that mean anything? You don't understand the way of shinobi. I merely used him, just as Gato used me. Now, it's over. His usefulness is at an end. The loss of his strength and skill, yes, that means something to me. But the boy? Nothing. If you mean that, Naruto growled, you're an even bigger rat than I thought. Kakashi grabbed Naruto's jumpsuit and tried to pull him back. Okay, that's enough. Calm down Naruto, he's not the enemy, not right now. Naruto broke from Kakashi's grip. Shut up. Far as I'm concerned, he's enemy number one. Why you? You ungrateful. After everything he did for you. Haku lived for you. You were the most important thing in the world to him, and he meant nothing to you, nothing at all? While he was sacrificing everything for you, you never felt anything for him? He threw his life away, and for what? For you and your dream. You never let him have a dream of his own, but he didn't care. And you just toss him aside, like he was nothing. A broken tool. Man, that's so wrong. So wrong. You talk too much, Zabuza said, head hung low. Naruto was about to yell at him some more, but noticed the tears falling to the ground. Your words cut deep, kid. While he fought you, his heart was tearing itself apart. You see, Haku was always too soft and too kind. He felt pain and sorrow, and now curse him, I feel them too. Something else. I feel content that this is the way it ends. Kakashi, release me. I'm going to kill this son of a bitch. Zabuza started tearing away at the wrappings around his mouth with his pointed teeth. Kakashi sighed. After all that, I don't even get to win. His ninja dogs puffed out of existence, freeing the legendary swordsman. Zabuza looked like he was trying to reach his sword, but his arms seemed to not work. Damn you Kakashi, you made my arms useless. Kakashi unzipped a pouch on his hip, pulled out a kunai, and tossed it to Zabuza, who caught it in his mouth. There. Don't say I never did anything for you. Zabuza let out a muffled, sarcastic thanks, and started charging towards Gato. He sliced his way through Gato's bandits, taking a few swords and spears to his chest and back, but kept charging on, running on adrenaline. He was running through the meat shields, yelling at Gato on the way. You're going to hell Gato. And I'm going with you. You think they'll take your bribes there? You'll be tortured for eternity. But me, Zabuza chuckled, I'll fit right in. I'll be the one torturing you, you bastard. He finally reached the fat man, who feared for his life. Die. Zabuza sliced the kunai through Gato's throat, making the man tumble backwards into the ocean, falling off the incomplete bridge. Zabuza promptly fell to the ground, spears and blades sticking out of his back. The bandits looked back at where their dead boss fell. Finally, one yelled, "There's only 4 of them. Let's kill him." The rest agreed, and started to charge to the tired team of ninja. Suddenly, an arrow flew and hit one of them. "You won't take our town. Run away. Now." A boy, Inari, yelled. He was wearing a cooking pot on his head, leading the rest of the villagers against the bandits. Naruto turned to face him. "Good job, Inari. You're a hero. Now, let's see what we can do about these bandits." Naruto molded his chakra into his hands, which were forming the cross seal. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 15 clones of Naruto puffed into existence, all ready to charge and attack the bandits. "Let's go." The Narutos charged, followed by the villagers. The bandits realized how outmatched they were, and ran back to their ship, trying desperately to get away from these people. A few were foolish, and decided to try to attack the strange orange-clad ninja. One grabbed a Naruto clone by the arm, and Naruto was reminded of the feeling Haku gave him, when he was about to kill him. The shocked feeling of something unexpected happening, Naruto felt it again. The bandit looked on, horrified, as his arm was being frozen solid. "What the hell are you doing to me?" But the bandit couldn't talk anymore. His entire body was frozen solid. Naruto ripped his arm away from the man's grip, shattering him. Kakashi took note of this, and decided to ask Naruto about it later. The clone looked around, confused, and shrugged. It simply got back to chasing the other bandits away. A few made it, but most jumped off the bridge, fleeing at any cost. The villagers cheered and were glad to have protected their homes. Kakashi walked over to where Zabuza lay. "I guess it's over." "Yeah. Kakashi, I have a request." Kakashi raised an eyebrow. "Take me to him." "All right, Zabuza." Kakashi pulled all of the blades of Zabuza's back, and then carried him over to Haku's body. As was walking to where Haku's body lay, snow began to fall. "Snow? At this season?" One of the villagers was heard saying. "Haku, are you crying?" Kakashi set Zabuza down next to Haku. "Thanks, Kakashi." With that, Kakashi walked back to where Naruto stood. Zabuza turned his head to look at Haku. "We've been together all this time, so I'll die next to you. If possible. I want to go to the same place you're going to." And so Zabuza Momochi died. Naruto was crying. Haku was born in a place with a lot of snow. The next few days were quiet, no more sudden ninja attacks. Team 7 just hung around Tazunai after they buried Zabuza and Haku. With Gato no longer around to threaten the villagers, Tazunai had more help working on the bridge, quickening its completion. Tazuna told them it would be a few more days until the Super Tazuna bridge was complete. "Are you really going to name it that, Grandpa?" Inari asked one day while working on the bridge. "I might. You got a better idea?" "How about naming it the Great Naruto Bridge? He is the one who got me to rally the villagers to protect this place." Tazuna scratched his chin. "Good idea. Don't tell the kid that though, we don't want him to get a big head." He chuckled at the thought. Kakashi was having a nice time reading his Icha Icha Paradise book, when Naruto walked up to him. "Kakashi-sensei. I just wanted to thank you for protecting my clone in the fight. You really didn't have to do that. It was just a clone." Without even looking up from his book, Kakashi said, "I didn't do that, Naruto. I can't use ice." "What? But then who? Haku?" "It wasn't Haku, Naruto," Kakashi said, anticipating Naruto's thoughts. "He was definitely dead. I think your clone did that." "That's not possible, Dadabayo. I don't know how to do ice jutsu." "I was watching your clone, Naruto. It wasn't a jutsu. Maybe you have some sort of Kekkei Genkai?" "I don't know. But ice? That's not very common in Konoha, is it?" "No." Maybe Haku somehow transferred his bloodline into you? I've never heard of anything like that, but who knows?" Naruto sat cross-legged on the wall of the bridge, next to Kakashi. Haku did the same thing to me, before he didn't freeze me solid like I did to that bandit, but my arm did feel like it got cold really fast. It kind of burned, Dadabayo. Maybe the QB has something to do with it? Kakashi thought, while absent-mindedly turning a page in his book. "Well, I'm going to go check up on Tazna. This bridge should be done by tomorrow. Naruto nodded, not really paying attention. Maybe Kyuubi did it. If I could just talk to the damn fox. Naruto was so wrapped up in his thoughts, he didn't notice Sasuke come up and lean on the wall beside him. Dobi, Sasuke said. Naruto didn't respond. Dobi, Sasuke said, a bit louder. HN? What do you want, team? I'm busy. I just wanted to say. Sasuke grumbled under his breath. What did you say? Thanks for killing that guy, Sasuke said, spitting out the words. Hey! No problem, team. It was my pleasure. You just saved me the trouble of doing it myself. I have to say though, you took way too long. Naruto stood up and angrily faced Sasuke, who didn't even flinch. What did you say, bastard? If I remember right, you were almost dead when I killed that guy. HN. I was faking so you could feel important. Bastard. Let's go. Right now. We'll see which of us is better. I don't like to waste my time, Dobe. Maybe when you can hold your own against Sakura, I'll beat you into the dust. Sasuke started walking away, smirking at Naruto's numerous obscenities directed towards him. His smile got progressively angrier as his thoughts progressed. How was he able to beat Haku when I wasn't? I'm 10 times stronger than the Dobe. I'm an Uchiha. I should be able to take down anyone. Sasuke headed for the woods, Naruto's loud voice dying out in the background. The trees around Sasuke were dented and singed from his constant hitting and kicking and fire jutsus. He stood in a small clearing, panting. He growled and ran at another tree, punching it. How is the Dobe catching up with me? He spun and used the momentum to kick the same tree. I'm an Uchiha. I should be leaps and bounds ahead of him. He jumped and kicked off the tree, forming hand signs for a just to. Fire style, Fuonex flower jutsu, Sasuke yelled in his mind, spitting out 5 small fireballs at the tree. He landed and sprinted towards the smoldering tree. Sasuke punched again. Should punch be punched stronger? Sasuke punched again, and when he made contact, red sparks flew out from his fist, leaving a small fist-shaped dent in the tree, scorch marks jutting from it. What the? Sasuke looked at his hands, red lightning jumping between his fingers. It tingled. What is this? Chakra? No. Something different. Sasuke tilted his hands until they were making a loose ball. The lighting was jumping from finger to finger, eventually making a ball in between his hands. Sasuke quickly pulled his hands apart, watching the ball of lighting dissipate. Okay. Try that again. He pulled his hands together again. Come on. Lighting. Lightning. Lightning. A small spark jumped from one hand to the other. There. Okay, again. Lighting. Lightning. Focus the lightning to your hands. Now. A ball of lightning jumped to life in his hands. Yes. Now. He carefully took his hands to the tree. Sasuke pulled his hands farther apart, and pushed the lightning into the tree. After a loud bang, Sasuke stared at the tree. Well. What was left of it? The ball of lightning made a crater in the tree, about a foot in diameter. Whoa. I like this new. Whatever it is. Let's try this again. Sakura was bored. Her eye candy/love of her life was off somewhere, and the only one she knew near here was her teacher, who was reading his stupid book, and the most annoying person she had ever met, Naruto. She sighed for what seemed like the 100th time that day. The only thing to do was watch unattractive men hauling concrete and steel, finishing the stupid bridge. I wish Sasuke-kun was here. We could have lunched together. The longer she thought about it, the better the picture became in her mind. We'd sit next to each on the bridge, and he'd look at me sweetly and start feeding me. I'd blush, and then return the favor. Sasuke-kun. Sakura saw Naruto start to walk over to her, and her fantasy was ruined. You're so annoying, Naruto. I wanted to think about Sasuke-kun, not you. Hey Sakura-chan, Naruto said, loudly. I was just coming over to check on you. Bio. A small vein in Sakura's large forehead bulged. I'm fine, Naruto. Now go away. But Sakura-chan. Sakura stood up and took a swing at Naruto's face. She missed horribly, however, and hit the concrete, scraping her knuckles. Bakana. Look at what you made me do. She held up her fist to show him the bloody mess. I'm sorry, Sakura-chan. I didn't mean to. I'll kiss it and make it better. Bio. Sakura's eye twitched, and she punched Naruto in the face with her other fist. So I'll see you back at the house, Sakura-chan, Naruto said, his nose now bloody. Satisfied with herself getting Naruto to go away, she went back to her fantasy. I'd get a bit of food on my chin, and Sasuke-kun would brush it off my lips and then lean in and... She was distracted by a tingling feeling on her hand. She looked at it wide-eyed as her skin knitted itself back together, leaving the blood behind. What in the world? Sakura used a finger to wipe a bit of the blood off, revealing perfectly smooth skin. It didn't even look like her hand was damaged, ever. What's wrong with me? Sasuke dragged his feet and through the door to Tazuna's house, utterly spent. His hands had a burn mark or two on them, from where he lost control of his Akurai, red lightning. If anyone stumbled across the clearing he was training in, though, they would wonder who hated trees that much. Sasuke smirked at the thought. At the table were Kakashi and Sakura. The woman and old man must have gone to sleep already. How late was I out? As he sat down at the table to eat, he tensed in the inevitable loudness of Sakura trying to woo him. Luckily, it never came. He heard Sakura ask Kakashi something about medical jutsus, and figured she was too wrapped up in that to notice him. It didn't interest him, so he tuned it out and focused on eating his food. He briefly wondered where the Dobi was, but remembered he really didn't care. If he shows up, I'm sure he'll be noticed. Sasuke quickly ate his food and headed up to the room that was being provided for him, Kakashi and Naruto. He was halfway up the stairs when Kakashi called up to him. Sasuke, try to be quiet. Naruto's already asleep and I'd hate for him to wake up yelling at you. Sasuke grunted in response and continued his trek up the stairs, flinching at Sakura yelling good night Sasuke-kun. Up at him. Shut up Sakura, Sasuke said, now at the top of the stairs. You're more annoying than Naruto. And with that, he went to his room. Naruto was already snoring loudly, and Sasuke was resisting the urge to shock the Dobi. No, that'd just wake him up and make him louder. Sasuke collapsed on his roll, falling asleep nearly instantaneously. He only managed one thought before sleep captured him. Why is it so cold in here? So Kakashi-sensei, I have a question. Sakura asked her teacher, who currently had his nose buried in his perverted book. Yes, Sakura? Sakura pouted. He could at least pretend to pay attention to me. What would make a wound heal in a few seconds? A medical jutsu of some kind. He answered, turning a page. Why do you ask? Sakura wondered how she would say this. I'll just say I was thinking about studying it. I don't want Kakashi-sensei to think I'm a freak. You realize that by doing that, you're hindering yourself, right? Sasuke-kun will never notice you if you don't get stronger. Oh, who asked you? Just show him. Sakura was so focused on her inner battle she didn't even notice Sasuke walk in and eat his late dinner, an amazing feat. She was broken out of her daze by Kakashi telling Sasuke to be quiet. Sasuke-kun? She looked to the stairs, and Sasuke was almost to the top. Good night, Sasuke-kun. She had hoped at least he would say good night, maybe even sweet dreams. But no, he said shut up Sakura. You're more annoying than Naruto. Sakura was dejected. More annoying than Naruto? It felt like a giant boulder was crushing her. Damn. Now I'm going to have to fix her. Kakashi thought, sadly closing his book. Sakura, what was that about medical jutsus? She didn't look up. It seemed like she didn't even notice she had been talked to. Kakashi sighed and stood up to go to bed, leaving the girl to work it out herself. Kakashi-sensei, she said in a hollow voice, I punched concrete and scratched up my knuckles pretty bad. When I looked at them 10 seconds later, they were fine. I don't know how, but I'm healing very fast. Watch. She closed her eyes and pulled out a kunai. Kakashi looked alarmed. Sakura, don't be hasty. Sakura shushed him. Just watch. Kakashi sighed, and sat back down. Sakura flinched as she cut her thumb slightly, then watched as a bead of blood appeared. She wiped the blood away and showed Kakashi her thumb. It didn't have a scratch. Sakura. How did you do that? How should I know? It just happened. Sakura. This is amazing. When we get back to the village, we need to talk to Hokage-sama about this, okay? Fine, Sakura said in the same hollow voice, I just hope I'm not some sort of freak for this. Kakashi looked at her sympathetically, we'll work on it when we get back to the village. For now, I need sleep. And you do too. So, off you go now. Alright. Thank you sensei. She kept staring into space, even as she walked to her room. Finally she's gone. Now, how did Naruto freeze that guy? He said Haku almost did it to him. Could Haku have really been alive? He shot down the idea. That boy was almost decapitated. No way was he alive. The only thing I can think of is that the Kyuubi somehow copied what Haku could do when its chakra was influencing Naruto. That doesn't make sense though, Because that would mean Kyuubi was helping Naruto excessively. Maybe he is, but I can never know that. Kakashi sighed. This is, as Shikaku says, troublesome. Naruto was woken by Kakashi saying his name at 7 a.m. His response was a groan. 5 more minutes, sensei. I kept dreaming about Haku. I feel like I just fell asleep. Bio. Then 5 more minutes won't make a difference, will it? Get up. Sasuke's already downstairs eating breakfast, Kakashi said, sparking Naruto's competitive nature. Naruto's eyes snapped open and he sat up quickly. I wasn't going back to sleep. I was awake half an hour ago. Bio. Naruto hurriedly pulled his jumpsuit on, and rushed downstairs. Kakashi rolled his eyes. Mention Sasuke and he's there. After a relatively quiet breakfast, due to Sakura still being crushed by Sasuke's words, Team 7 head out for home. The villagers saw them off as they crossed the bridge, and Tazuna and Inari discussed the name of the bridge. Grandpa, can we name it now? Sure. The kid's gone now, Tazuna said. I hereby name you the Super Naruto Bridge. Grandpa. The Super Naruto Bridge? What? I like it, Tazuna said. But, if it'll make you happy, we'll name it the Great Naruto Bridge. He looked down at Inari. Better? Much. A few workers started etching the name into the arch that was over the bridge. Yeah, that'll be a super name. Super names make for a super bridge. Team 7 was about an hour away from Konoha. They had walked in silence, except for Naruto. Being Naruto. Are we almost there? I can't wait to get back. First thing I'm gonna do is go get some decent ramen. Bio. Naruto yelled, to no one in particular. You've been saying that for the past 4 hours, Dobe. No one cares, Sasuke yelled, fed up with the annoying blonde. I take back what I said, Sakura, you're much less annoying than him. Really? You think so, Sasuke-kun? Sakura said, relieved to have that off her shoulders. Yes. I'm less annoying than Naruto. Score 1 for Sakura. Alright. Sasuke-kun will be mine yet. Sasuke sighed. I liked her more when she was depressed. Sakura's mood brightened considerably after that. She had a constant smile on her face, and would occasionally pump her fist into the air. Kakashi sighed at his team's antics. I've got an annoying, immature, unbelievably powerful kid, a girl who heals from I don't even know yet, who's pretty much just a cheerleader, who's in love with a guy who wants nothing to do with her, and a prodigy who hates everyone he works with. He looked to the sky and sighed, yet again. Why me? By some miracle, half an hour later, Naruto stopped yelling at Sasuke and shut up, looking like he was deep in thought about something. He picked up a small pebble and seemed intent on doing something with it. Come on, freeze. Freeze. Freeze, you stupid rock. I don't get it. I can freeze an entire human being, but not a tiny pebble. This is so stupid. Bio. Sasuke was deep in thought about different ways he could use his Akurai. I could charge as much as I could muster into my fist. Yeah, that'd be good. Itachi, I will get stronger, and I will defeat you and avenge my clan. Sakura was. Well. You don't want to know Sakura's thoughts right now. When they finally got to the gates of Konoha, Kakashi got their attention. Okay guys, training tomorrow at 7 sharp. See you then. He smiled, did a little wave, and puffed away. Sakura was the one who spoke up, so, I guess I'll see you guys at 10, when he gets there. Both boys mumbled in agreement. Revelations. Sakura walked through the doorway to her home, announced her being back to her parents. She unpacked and went down to mingle with her parents. After being gone for a few weeks, they cooked her a special dinner and bugged her about mission details. She told them everything they needed to know. They didn't need to know her teammate went crazy and killed a guy. After she was done being interrogated, she went upstairs to her room and was surprised to see Kakashi in her window, reading his book. Kakashi-sensei, what are you doing here? She asked, throwing herself onto her bed. Well, I couldn't exactly give you special treatment in front of Sasuke and Naruto, could I? They'd bug me until I told them what I did with you. Oh. So, are we going to see Hokage-sama? Yup. See you there. And with that, Kakashi puffed out of Sakura's bedroom, leaving the pink-haired girl to glare at the now empty window. Of course he can't just walk, no. He's got to show off. Sakura started towards the Hokage tower, wishing evil things on her sensei all the way. She arrived at the Hokage's office to find Kakashi squatting in an open window to the Hokage's left. Does he ever just sit in a chair? Sakura sat down in front of the Hokage's desk, which she noticed was piled high with paperwork. So, Miss Haruno, Kakashi tells me you have an ability, shall we call it? The old man said, smoking his pipe. Yes, Hokage-sama. Would you mind if I saw it for myself, Sakura? Alright, Hokage-sama. Do you have anything sharp I could use? She asked, already bracing herself for the sharp sting. A cage always has something sharp handy, Miss Haruno, Sarutobi said, tossing her a kunai. Sakura was caught off guard by the tossed knife, not a good thing for a ninja. She blocked it with her arms, cutting her left one. She winced in pain, and pulled the kunai out. Gah, she yelled in pain, and flung the knife to the floor. See? Her arm stitched itself together as she held up her arm to the Hokage. My wounds heal without so much as a scratch. That is strange. What do you think of this, Kakashi? I think that it is an invaluable tool for a ninja. However, we need to test this ability to see what she can and can't heal. There's no need for that, said a male voice to Sakura's left. He was mostly encased in shadows, giving him an air of mystery. She can't die. Sarutobi looked taken aback, and Kakashi's eye widened. How do you know that? The Hokage asked. Because, where I'm from, there was a girl that could do it as well. A cheerleader, Claire Bennett. Where exactly are you from? Kakashi trailed off, silently probing for the man's name. The man stepped forward into the light. His short black hair was slicked back, and his thick eyebrows loomed over his dark brown eyes. He was wearing a strange black shirt, one that buttoned up and had long sleeves. He wore similarly colored pants and shoes. Please, he said, call me Siler. Oi, Naruto, the Hokage wants to see Team 7. Now, Kakashi said, waking the blonde kid. Kakashi-sensei, I just went to sleep, Bio. Can I talk to the old man tomorrow? Naruto said, burying his face in his pillow. Alright, but that means Sakura and Sasuke will know something that you don't. Fine, sensei. I'll be there in a minute. Naruto got out of bed slowly, waiting for Kakashi to leave. Nice try, Naruto. I'm going with you. Hurry up, we don't want to be late, Kakashi said, pulling out his book. 5 minutes later, they were walking out the door, Naruto with cup ramen in hand. So sensei, he said in between bites, what's the old man want? Patience, Naruto. You'll find out when you get there. He flipped a page in his book. Of course, if we didn't have to wait on water to boil, we could already be there. You expected me to eat cold ramen? Kakashi sighed. I expect you to not eat when there's an urgent meeting with one of the most powerful ninja in the world. The rest of the short trip was in near silence, only Naruto's slurping being the only sound in the cool night. He cried out once in pain, the hot water scaling his mouth. Naruto burst through the door to find Sakura and Sasuke already there, dressed in their ninja gear. Naruto realized he probably shouldn't have shown up in his pajamas. Glad you could join us, Naruto, Sarutobi said from behind his desk. Can we just make this quick, old man? I want to go back to sleep, Bio. This earned a punch from Sakura. Bakana. He's the Hokage. Talk with more respect. Naruto just cowered and begged for Sakura to forgive him. Kakashi once again sighed at their actions. Sarutobi cleared his throat, stopping them and getting them to stand at attention. This meeting is pertaining to your teammate, Sakura Haruno. She seems to have developed a unique ability. Kakashi mentioned something about Naruto doing something abnormal. Well, abnormal for Naruto, and since 2/3 of Team 7 are going through changes, I assembled all of you. Sasuke Uchiha, have you noticed anything strange recently? The Hokage looked at the boy in question. Did Sakura get Akurai too? No. If she can get it, Itachi can too. Hokage-sama, is it so wise to show each other our abilities? Sasuke asked, not willing to reveal his secret yet. So you admit you have ability, then? Sarutobi asked, trapping the last Uchiha. Damn it. Hi, Hokage-sama. What the hell? Why does Sasuke get something special? He's already special enough. Naruto protested loudly. Naruto. The Hokage said in a firm tone, not now. Naruto bit back his retort, and crossed his arms dramatically. Now, Sasuke, would you please show us this ability of yours? Hokage-sama, could Sakura show us hers, instead? Sasuke wasn't willing to part with his secret yet. Of course, Sasuke-kun. I'd love. Sakura started, quite fangirlistically. No, Sasuke. I've seen her ability, as has Kakashi. This demonstration isn't for you, it's for Kakashi and me. Sasuke suppressed a glare at the old man. Fine. This is my Akurai. He held up one hand and let lightning jump from finger to finger. I discovered it when I hit a tree after our fight with Zabuza and Haku. He quickly stopped the flow and lowered his hand, not too happy about letting them observe his special strength. Interesting, Sarutobi said, touching the tips of his fingers together. He turned his attention to Naruto. Do you have anything strange happening to you, Naruto? Nothing I can use consistently. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow. Explain please. Naruto explained about freezing the bandit and how he tried on the trip back to freeze a pebble. I couldn't think of anything that would let me freeze a person, but not a rock. I think it's stupid. Bio odd. Sakura, you may tell them what you can do now. Hi, Hokage-sama. She turned towards Sasuke. I can heal from any wound. She demonstrated this point by picking up the kunai that had been thrown at her earlier and cutting her hand with it, spewing blood. A few seconds later, the wound healed seamlessly, leaving only a blood-smeared hand. Naruto quickly ran up and grabbed her hand, obnoxiously searching it for something. Sakura's rage started to build, and moments later, Naruto got an amazingly hard punch to the face, sending Naruto sprawling and probably breaking his nose. Get away from me, Naruto. You're so annoying. She only gawked at the sight before her, as did everyone else. What? Naruto said. He didn't notice his face starting to heal, but winced when a loud crack told everyone his nose had reset itself. Ah. What the hell? Naruto. You can do what I can do? Sakura said, marveling at him. But I couldn't do it a while ago. I burned myself on ramen. Bio. As he spoke, he could feel his light burn fading. What's going on? Kakashi was as confused as everyone else. Well, almost everyone. I believe I know what's going on. A voice said from behind Sarutobi. Sylar, what is Naruto's ability? I believe Naruto can absorb whomever's ability he touches. Who the hell is this, old man? Naruto said, not happy at the idea of someone knowing something about him he himself didn't. This, the Hokage gestured towards Sylar, is Sylar. He's an expert on abilities, and arrived a few days ago. How does he know so much about things that only just emerged? Kakashi asked. Where I'm from, these abilities had been around for years. I was a connoisseur of sorts with them. Trust me, I'm very familiar with them. What ability did you have? Sasuke demanded. Sylar was staring into space now, as if remembering fond times. I had the ability to understand exactly how things work. For example, I understand that your power, he gestured towards Sasuke, isn't control over lightning. What? What is it then? Sasuke was angry at this man who knew so much about him he didn't know. It's a supercharger. You boost other people's powers. Although, if you shocked the pink girl, Sakura humped at her nickname, nothing would happen. You can't supercharge something like that. But if you shocked someone who could read minds, it would temporarily increase the range in which he could read minds, possibly extending the reach to an entire city. Amazing. Sasuke, your ability would be of great value to the village. How can I become strong when I'm busy making others stronger? Well, I believe this is enough for one day. Team 7, you're dismissed, Sarutobi said. I need to speak with Sylar and Kakashi alone about this. See you later, old man. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura walked out the front door of the Hokage Tower together. Bye, Sakura-chan. See you tomorrow. Bio. Sakura rolled her eyes and turned towards Sasuke. Good night, Sasuke-kun. See you tomorrow. Sasuke rolled his eyes and just walked away. Idiots. Naruto collapsed onto his bed, thankful he hadn't needed to change clothes. He was asleep seconds after he hit his pillow. The young ninja didn't even notice the pale eyes hovering outside his window. Naruto was awoken by the sun glaring at his face. He grunted into his pillow. Damn Kakashi-sensei. Making us set our alarms this early when he won't be there for hours. After realizing what woke him up, Naruto bolted through his morning routine, gulping down a glass of milk and skipping his ramen, much to his dismay. He arrived at Training Ground 7 at 9:58 a.m. and let out a sigh of relief when he didn't see Kakashi. Naruto. Sakura's voice pierced the air. Sakura-chan. I didn't mean to be late, honest. Bio. Naruto clenched his eyes shut in anticipation of pain. Instead, he got a pat on the head. Good job, Naruto. You actually did something right. Naruto looked at her confusedly. What? You left me alone with Sasuke for 2 hours. Naruto looked over to Sasuke, who looked like he wanted Naruto dead. Before Naruto could respond, Kakashi showed up. He had Sylar behind him. Good morning, team. The Chunin exams are in a week, so I asked Hokage-sama if we could borrow Sylar-san. Sensei, how would that help us? Sakura asked timidly. Sylar-san is the most experienced person with these new abilities you have. He could tell you how to use yours most effectively. For example, you, the black-haired one, Sylar said, referring to Sasuke, can turn your ability into an attack force, as you've seen. You can also shoot your Akurai at a target from a distance. So that means Sasuke will train his Akurai over there. Kakashi poked his thumb behind his back, by those trees. Sasuke grunted in acknowledgement, and started to walk over by the trees. How can I train my ability, Sylar-san? Asked Sakura. You can. Your power doesn't develop. It's just there. Sylar seemed condescending to Kakashi, but he didn't say anything. Sakura, you're going to do exercises with me. Your physical stamina is pretty non-existent. Sakura looked dejected. Hi sensei. Hey, what about me? What do I do? Naruto was shaking with excitement. You, come with me. I'm going to show you how your power works. Sylar turned and walked towards the memorial stone, not looking back to see if Naruto followed. Naruto looked at Kakashi, who nodded. All right. Naruto bolted after Sylar, pestering him with questions. Shut up. Now, Sylar leaned against the middle of 3 wooden posts sticking out of the ground. Your power makes you like a sponge. You soak up all the powers of people around you. To access these powers, you have to think about how that person made you feel. Now, I'm going to cut you, then, you're going to think about Pinky over there and how she makes you feel. If you succeed, you heal. Got it? Naruto nodded his head vigorously, and held out his arm. Gotcha. You've got to cut me deep, though, because I heal pretty quickly on my own. I'll keep that in mind. Sylar grabbed Naruto's arm and pointed his finger in it. Naruto cringed in pain as his blood suddenly oozed out of a cut that suddenly appeared on his arm. How did? Think about her, not this. Go, Sylar said, letting go of Naruto's arm. Naruto nodded and thought about Sakura, closing his eyes in concentration. The way she looked, the way she walked, everything about her. He opened his eyes expectantly, and noticed his wound was still there, albeit a fraction smaller. Sylar-sensei, it didn't work. So it would seem. You did something wrong. What were you thinking about? I was thinking about Sakura-chan, of course. That's what you told me to do. Bio. Specifically, what did you think about? The way Sakura-chan walked, how she looked, her eyes. That kind of stuff. God, you're stupid. I said how she made you feel, not her. Naruto eyed an understanding. He closed his eyes again, thinking about how Sakura made him feel. She makes me feel warm and accepted. Naruto's mind flashed to the incident earlier that morning. Sometimes she kind of scares me, though. It hurts when she begs for Sasuke and doesn't want anything to do with me. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted as Sylar's voice broke through. You're doing something wrong. You're not activating her power. Come with me. Naruto's eyes snapped open and Sylar was already on the move. Naruto, wasn't it? I need to see your power in action. Then I can understand it. Is that your power? Understanding how things work? Naruto asked. He didn't get a response, however, as Sylar walked up to Sasuke and told him something. What? Why would I want to help the Dobi? Sasuke snarled. You'll because I told you to, and I'll cut your arm off if you don't. You can try. Sasuke jumped back and pulled out a kunai, Sharingan flaring. He was stopped in mid-air, however, by an invisible force. His head jerked as if he was trying to break free, but nothing else moved. The sleeves on his shirt started to tear away, and he screamed as his shoulder started to be cut in a straight line. Somewhere in the background, Sakura was screaming. Kakashi held a kunai to Sylar's throat in an instant. Let my student go, or I'll cut off your head. Sylar smirked. Relax Kakashi, I wouldn't really cut off his arm. I was just proving a point. Sasuke fell to the ground, clutching his arm and glaring at Sylar. Sylar, never again are you to do that to any of our allies. Understood? No promises, Kakashi. Sylar smirked. I need this kid. He jerked his finger at Sasuke, to charge Naruto so I can understand his power. Kakashi eyed Sylar suspiciously, and then told Sasuke to do it. Fine Kakashi, but you owe me for this. Sasuke stood up, as his bleeding had slowed a little. He walked over to Naruto and charged his hand to the point where red lightning was crackling along his hand. He pushed Naruto forcefully, and Naruto stumbled back. There. Can I go now? Sylar's gaze was glued to Naruto, so Kakashi nodded. Good. So Sasuke walked back to his trees. Naruto was trembling slightly. "Now, think about the girl. Hurry, before it wears off," Sylar said, sounding excited. Naruto nodded slowly, and closed his eyes. Sylar watched as his wound healed, albeit slowly. "Good job, kid. You healed." Sylar trailed off, as the grass around Naruto's feet was frozen solid. In an increasing radius, everything was slowly frozen. "Naruto, stop." The radius kept increasing, however, so Sylar held out his hand and pushed Naruto, breaking his concentration. Naruto seemed terrified and out of breath. Sweat was beading across his forehead. He looked around confusedly, and told Sylar thank you. "Why?" Naruto looked around to make sure Sasuke and Sakura were out of earshot. "I was talking to something very big and very evil. It was terrifying." "Is that how the person who gave you freezing made you feel?" Naruto thought about that. Haku did scare him when he was about to die, but he really enjoyed his company when they were picking herbs together. "Yeah, I guess so." Naruto shrugged. "Good. Come with me." Sylar started back towards the memorial stone, again not looking to see if Naruto would follow. Naruto stood up shakily, and trotted after Sylar. "So what do I do now?" "Now? You practice some more. Try to freeze this pebble." Sylar tossed a small rock over to Naruto, who caught it. "All right, I can do this." Naruto squeezed his eyes shut in concentration. He was interrupted by a loud explosion, however, in Sasuke's general direction. Naruto opened his eyes and looked over to see Sasuke laid out flat, and a large charred spot on the ground. He barely contained his laughter. "Hey, focus on the rock, not him," Sylar reprimanded. "Right. Rock. Freeze it." "Gotcha." Naruto's determination showed in his eyes before he shut them again. He did exactly as he did before, thinking about the fear that Haku made him experience. He opened his eyes expectantly, dejected when he saw the not-frozen rock. "Damn it! I did the same thing as I did earlier. Why isn't it working?" Naruto screamed at the rock. "What's wrong with this kid? He just froze a 10-foot radius solid, but he can't use this power? I don't remember Peter ever having this problem. Unless..." Sylar had a sudden epiphany. "Naruto, look at me." Naruto opened his eyes to find Sylar staring expectantly at him. He freaked out a bit, however, and put up his arms in defense. "Why are you that close to me?" Sylar didn't answer, and grabbed Naruto's wrist. "Naruto, think about me, about how I make you feel. Could you let go of me first? You're kind of creepy." He did. "Okay, here I go." Naruto closed his eyes again, thinking about how Sylar made him feel. Kind of uncomfortable, a little freaked out, but sort of good for training me. "What now?" Sylar unstrapped something from his wrist and held it out to Naruto. "A watch? Why would that help me?" Naruto asked, slightly put off from his break in training. "Try and fix it." "I don't know a thing about watches." "If you want to learn how to access my ability, fix the watch. Listen to it. Like a symphony, every piece has its part, all coming together in perfect harmony. If you can understand the complexities of a watch, you can understand anything, everything. Cause, effect, action, reaction." Sylar trailed off, hoping Naruto would get the point. "Fine, but I don't see how this helps." Naruto held the watch up to his ear, listening and trying to understand how it works. Something suddenly clicked in Naruto's head. "That piece seems like it's hitting that one. So if I bend it just a bit, it should work." "I know how to fix it," Naruto said, astonished. "You just have to move." He popped off the face of the watch and pointed at a piece, that piece just a little, and all the pieces flow together. The pieces floated out of the watch and spread out in front of Naruto. "Good job. Now, put it together." For the next 10 minutes, Naruto tapped and poked the pieces into place, marveling at this understanding he possessed on something he had never studied. Finally, the pieces clicked together and as a unit, fell into the case of the watch, and the face after it. The second hand gave a jolt, and then started ticking. "I'm sorry," Sylar said, sounding sad. For what? You showed me how to do this stuff. I can even understand why ramen tastes so good," Naruto exclaimed, astounded at this newfound ability. "Nothing, just focus here with me. Your power isn't as strong as I thought." "What do you mean my power isn't strong? I'm gonna be Hokage. My power's got to be strong, Bio." Naruto was suddenly angry with this guy. Who is he to say Naruto wasn't strong? "Calm down, kid. I never said your power wasn't strong. It's just not as strong as I thought. What do you mean? I thought your power was the same as an acquaintance of mine was. It kind of is, actually. Peter's power made him like a sponge. He soaked up everyone's ability around him, and could access them anytime he wanted. You, on the other hand, can only use one power at a time. Oh. But I used Haku's ability earlier. Naruto protested. Sylar looked at Naruto like he was an idiot. You mean after he supercharged your ability? Wow. Didn't notice that. Naruto stuck his hand behind his head. Then he looked at Sylar accursedly. Why didn't I understand that since I have your ability? You need to think about what you want to understand. God, you're stupid. Naruto laughed nervously. So what now? Now, you know how to use any ability you come across. You might not be able to use their ability so well, but you can use it. Sylar stood up from his spot on the memorial stone. I think that's enough for today. But that only took an hour. Don't worry, I've got something for you later, too. But can't we do that now? No. I don't have the right materials for that. And so Sylar started walking back to the village. Okay then. See you tomorrow, Sylar-sensei. Maybe I'll go see what's up with Sasuke. Sasuke was having a bad day. First, the Dobi didn't show up, so he had to listen to Sakura rant about something for nearly 2 hours. Then he gets told to work on his AIM. He was an Uchiha. Their aim was always perfect. Well, that's what he thought. Then he tried shooting his Akurai. Damn it! Sasuke screamed in his head. So far, he was failing to hit his target. Anytime I put too much into the attack, it arcs off somewhere I don't want it to go. Anytime I put less into the attack, the Akurai hardly makes it halfway to the target. Sasuke was just too frustrated at the moment. When that Sylar guy came over, and had the audacity to tell him to supercharge the damn Dobi, he snapped. What? Why would I want to help the Dobi? Sasuke yelled at Sylar. You'll, because I told you to, and I'll cut your arm off if you don't. You can try. Sasuke jumped back and activated his Sharingan, only to be caught in midair by some invisible force. He tried jerking around, but could only move his head. What is this? Sasuke froze as he heard a rip. He jerked his head to his left and his eyes widened as his skin was sliced by an invisible knife and let out a scream in pain. Sakura screamed something in the background, and then the pain suddenly stopped. Sasuke opened his eyes and saw Kakashi with a kunai to Sylar's throat. Damn bastard deserves it. Sasuke was suddenly dropped and Kakashi told him to do as Sylar said. Fine. But you owe me, Kakashi. Sasuke walked over and powered his Akurai to his hand. He pushed Naruto a bit harder than was needed, but it did the job. He abruptly turned and went back to his trees. Naruto could burn for all he cared. Sasuke was just about ready to explode. He didn't care anymore. He pushed as much Akurai as he could into his hand and just let it go. He found himself partially deaf and flown back a few feet. How is this supposed to work? Sasuke slowly went through the hand seals for his great fireball jutsu. He inhaled deeply, and infused his breath with chakra. He breathed out, the fire curling up for a moment and then blasting its way to his target tree. For some reason, the explosion calmed him. He sat down and watched his Akurai arc around his fingers. Why won't you work? He curled his hand into a fist and pushed more Akurai into it. Sasuke slowly dispersed the lightning until it withered away to nothing. Want some help? Naruto's voice was behind Sasuke. No. Sasuke didn't even look at Naruto as he stood up and took his stance for another round of target practice. Naruto seemed to ignore him and walked to his side, about 5 feet away. Sasuke ignored him in turn and charged up his Akurai. Ha! Sasuke yelled in concentration, trying to blast the tree in front of him. The lightning had different plans, however, and arced downward into the ground. Sasuke let out a low growl in frustration. Oh, I get it, Naruto said, turning towards Sasuke. He smirked. Too bad you don't want my help. Sasuke grunted and turned to Naruto. What could Adobe know about my ability? I'll give you a hint. Use chakra. Naruto turned to walk away and Sasuke leapt and put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Kakashi was suddenly by their side. Naruto, why don't you get Sasuke's ability and practice with him? You two seem to do much better when you were against each other. Like the Dobi could figure this out. If anything would get Naruto riled up, it was being underestimated. Or having his precious people threatened. Or having his ramen taken away. Oh yeah? Naruto spun and slapped Sasuke's wrist away. Watch me team. Naruto took a bit of a wider stance than Sasuke did, and drew his hands to his side. The Akurai was crackling in a ball between Naruto's hands. Naruto thrust his hands forward and the Akurai blast from his hands and formed a small cylinder of pure lightning that made it about 3/4 of the way to the tree. Beat that team. Kakashi's one visible eye widened slightly. Well, that didn't work as well as I had hoped. Kakashi had planned on Naruto struggling to catch up with Sasuke and then finally mastering it at the same time as Sasuke, as had happened with the tree climbing exercise. Oh well, back to Sakura. Kakashi pulled out his book and lazily walked back to where Sakura was trying to run back and forth between 2 points. Sasuke glared at Naruto. How the hell did you do that on your first try? Sailor-sensei's ability is to understand how things work. When I absorbed his, I wondered how your ability could get to the tree. Something just clicked in my head. If you'd use some chakra to direct it, the power behind it would be more concentrated and your aim would be much better. Naruto took his stance again, pulling his hands to his side. Sasuke grunted, and took his stance again. He hoped Naruto wouldn't notice it was a bit wider than before. He tried to get his chakra to form a long cylinder, the width of his fist. Sasuke activated his Sharingan, pleased to see his chakra had taken the desired shape. Let's see the Dobi beat me now. Sasuke charged his Akurai to let it explode down the funnel of chakra. While the result was better than what he had been doing, the lightning broke the funnel of chakra about 15 feet away from the tree. Sasuke looked shocked. I get it now. The chakra has to be thick enough so the Akurai doesn't break it. Sasuke reformed his chakra cylinder around his fist and was sure to put some more into it. As he started to charge up his attack, he took a glance over to Naruto. Naruto had a chakra tube as well, though his was much larger. It was about a foot in diameter. Both boys released their attacks at the same time. Sasuke glanced over to Naruto's to see how it did. Sasuke's attack died out after Naruto's did, but Naruto's had more power to it. Is his stronger than mine or not? And so the race began. Training. The days leading up to the Chunin exams were extremely repetitive. Naruto and Sasuke would pair up and shoot their Akurai at their respective trees, and Sakura would go exercise with Kakashi. Mostly, Sakura just sprinted back and forth between 2 points, and then would collapse from exhaustion. 15 minutes later, she was rested up and ready for endurance running. She realized she needed this, but damn if it didn't hurt. Her muscles always seemed like they were killing themselves over and over again. She could already see the results, though. Sakura knew she could run easier now than before, and faster. That didn't mean she had to like Kakashi for it. Her healing powers gave her an extreme advantage over normal people, for her muscles repaired themselves rapidly. They still got sore, however. They killed her when she ran, but thankfully weren't sore for long. Kakashi-sensei, how much longer are we going to do this? Sakura panted as she was running up a tree. Ma, not long Sakura. The Chunin exams are in a week, so I can't do this forever, Kakashi said, leaning against a tree and reading his little orange book. Sakura grunted as she flipped off the tree and positioned herself to land in a way that would let her sprint back up the tree. She miscalculated, however, and snapped her leg. Kakashi rushed to her side. Her shin was piercing her skin and blood coated the white bone. Sakura muffled her scream of pain. She tried to push the bone back into place, not enjoying the feeling of touching her own bone. Kakashi winced at his student. How can she stand that pain? Sakura, Kakashi started, a few weeks ago you passed out without getting touched. Now you're pushing your bones back into your body. Wasn't that painful? Yes sensei, Sakura said, rising to her feet to repeat her process. Ever since I've gotten this ability, pain has been getting less and less intense. I know pushing my own bone back into place should be more painful than it is for me, but it's muffled. She grunted and sprinted back up the tree, apparently tired of talking to Kakashi. She's changed. I hope it's for the better. Kakashi sighed and flipped open his book yet again. Naruto was frustrated at his Akurai. He had opted for a big tube of chakra, to stuff more Akurai in. If he put too much Akurai in a thick shell, the shell broke and the lightning fell apart. If the shell was too thin with less Akurai, and the same effect occurred. However, if there wasn't enough Akurai in a thick shell, the shell collapsed on itself, snuffing out the lightning. It was like trying to balance a scale with a scale on each plate. He could see his training was paying off, at least. The tube took longer and longer to collapse or explode, but the tree was relatively untouched. If his attack reached the tree, it just barely cinched the bark, instead of breaking the tree in half, as Naruto had hoped it would. Sasuke had tried to make his Akurai fit in a narrow tube, basing the width off of his index and middle fingers. Sasuke figured if the Akurai was more concentrated, it had a better chance of piercing the tree. So far, he had no luck. He needed better control over his chakra. The shape of his cylinder kept fluctuating when he fired his off, randomly growing and shrinking, making his attack vary in power. It was like he needed something wrapped around it to focus the power. "Naruto," a voice behind them said. "Come with me. We're going to practice some more." "But Sailor-sensei," Naruto complained, "I need to work on this attack. Sasuke team can't beat me at this." Sailor looked at Sasuke performing the attack and then told Naruto to do the same. He scoffed, "This kid," he pointed at Sasuke, "is much further from completing his attack than you are." Naruto pumped his fist in the air. "Yes. Take that, Sasuke team." Sasuke glared at Sailor and got back to mastering his technique. His efforts redoubled. Sailor dragged Naruto back to the three posts, where a girl with dark blue, chin-length hair and white eyes was standing, almost hiding, behind a log. "Hinata? Why are you here?" Note: I'm not good with stuttering people. Just imagine her voice mumbled and quiet. "Ano. Sailor-san told me to come here. He didn't tell me why." As she said this, her body shrunk behind the log farther, making her even harder to understand. "I brought her here to let you learn how to touch one person, and not absorb their ability. Right now you're in a state where the natural thing to do is soak up everything you touch. We want you to get to a point where you don't absorb anything unless you want to. Before you ask a stupid question, it's useful if you have a good ability and don't want to lose it." Naruto shut his mouth at that, as he had planned to ask that very question. "Okay. So, how do we start?" "You're going to absorb this girl's power. While you're using it, you'll touch me, and if you absorb my power, then we try again. Got it?" Naruto nodded, eager to advance himself. "Naruto-kun is going to touch me?" Hinata felt her face get warmer and redder at the thought. It didn't help that Naruto noticed. "Hey, Hinata, are you alright? It looks like you have a fever." Hinata could feel herself losing consciousness as Naruto's hand got closer to her to check her temperature. "Naruto, stop that," Sailor said, clearly annoyed. "Hinata, let Naruto touch your hand." Hinata shakily nodded and held out her hand, which Naruto quickly grabbed. She had to suppress a meep and very nearly fainted. "Wow, Hinata, you have really soft hands." And down went Hinata. Naruto wasn't fast enough to catch her, and she hit the ground. "Hinata? What's wrong? Are you okay? Snap out of it." "He must have lost my ability." "Good. Now, think about Hinata." "But she passed out. She could be hurt," Naruto yelled, panicking about what to do. "Ignore that. She's fine. Focus, Naruto," Sailor said, his words condescending. "Hinata passed out. She's hurt. Oh man, she freaks me out every time she does this. Am I floating?" And indeed he was. "What? Is this what Hinata's power is? Floating?" Naruto asked, slowly spinning in mid-air circles. "What else would it be, you idiot? How else would you explain suddenly being off the ground? The ability is flying, by the way." Naruto looked at Sailor, and then quickly changed the subject. "Is Hinata doing any better?" Sailor glanced over at the girl on the ground. "Yes." A few seconds after that, Hinata started to wake up, and remembered where she was. "Naruto-kun touched me." Remembering made her face red again. Naruto was suddenly beside her, hovering slightly off the ground. "Hinata, are you okay? You passed out again. Do we need to take you to the hospital?" Hinata stuttered out a no. "Alright then. If you say so." Naruto turned back to Sailor. "So what now?" "Now," Sailor started, "you hover a little, just enough so we know you have her power. Then you're going to touch me, but not take my power. Clear?" "Got it." Naruto gave a short nod. "But, how exactly do I do that?" "Just focus on trying to stay off the ground. It should start to come naturally soon." "Okay. Let's go." Naruto pumped his fist in the air, and then sweat dropped. "Nay, Hinata. How do I move?" Sailor wanted to cut the kid's head open. Such an idiot. Hinata blushed, looked at the ground and started tapping her fingers together. "Naruto-kun. You just kind of." Naruto floated closer, to hear her better. This made her face red yet again. She raised her face to meet him inches away. "Naruto-kun." "Nay, Hinata, are you?" Naruto was pushed away by an invisible force and flipped through the air, eventually stabilizing several yards away. "Hey! What the hell was that? Sylar's lips curled into a small smile. There. You can move now. If that girl had fainted again, it would have been annoying. Now, come over here and try to keep her ability. Naruto dropped to the ground and bolted back to Sylar and Hinata. Activate her power. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes. He rose a few inches off the ground. Now, touch my hand. Naruto opened his eyes and reached out his own hand to touch Sylar's. He promptly fell to the ground. Damn it, he yelled, and turned to Hinata. Hinata, would you mind if I got your ability again? Hinata nodded and held out her hand, still red. Naruto reached out his hand and thought, why does she always turn red and faint around me? It's really weird. Bio. Naruto's eyes widened as he touched Hinata's hand. No way. Naruto stood stunned for a moment until Sylar snapped him out of it. This time, try flying upside down. That way you're more motivated to not bash in your skull. Huh? Oh, right. Naruto snapped out of his trance and started to hover. She can't. No way. Maybe it was a slip-up in Sylar-sensei's ability. There's no way she likes me. He continued these thoughts and flipped himself. He didn't even notice the blood going to his head. How could she? She never said anything. Hinata Hyuga does not like me like that. He touched Sylar's hand and Hinata cringed, expecting him to fall. When nothing happened, she gave a small smile. Good job, Naruto. Hinata, was it? You can go now, if you want. I'm going to leave. Sylar turned and left the two alone. Naruto was still floating, upside down. Maybe I misunderstood. He thought, sure she's cute and all, maybe as cute as Sakura-chan, but she was told to hate me just like everyone else. Maybe I can figure out what it is if I hang around her a little. Nay, Hinata, can you show me how to fly better? If I need your power later, I'd like to use it as good as I can. Hinata was caught off guard by that. Naruto-kun wants me to teach him. She got slightly redder at that. SHSH sure Naruto-kun. How should we do it? Hinata stuttered out. Naruto flipped and landed cross-legged on the ground, his head on his fist, deep in thought. He looked up quickly and yelled, I know. You could fly around and I could try to catch you. Light tag. Naruto-kun? Is that what it's called? Okay then. Go. Naruto waited a second until Hinata understood and flew off, then another few seconds to take off after her. Naruto, being over-enthusiastic, shot far ahead of Hinata without any control, and flew smack into a tree. Ow! Hinata flew next to him, worried. Hey, are you okay, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, relatively loudly. Yeah. I'm fine, Hinata-chan. Thanks. Well, she cares if I'm hurt or not. That could mean she's just nice. Let's try that again. I'll go slower this time. Hinata nodded, blushed, and took off once again. Naruto jumped off of the tree limb, and caught himself in mid-air. He shakily rose through the sky and eventually got to where he could stay still and stand on air. Hinata was staying in one spot until he started slowly going after her. She drifted backwards just as slowly as he advanced. He grinned and went as fast as he could toward her. She simply flew up higher, letting him pass her into some trees. He threw on the brakes as hard as he could, and narrowly avoided the painful wood. Gotta go slower. But fast enough to catch her. Naruto took off again, a little slower, and trailed after Hinata. They flew above the trees, Naruto growing more and more comfortable with each passing minute. She is fun to be around. Maybe. It's not so crazy to like Hinata-chan. Bio. Hinata was as happy as she'd ever been. I'm helping Naruto-kun train. And maybe I'm not such a failure. Hinata heard Naruto call for her to slow down, so she stopped flying and hovered still. Wow, Hinata-chan. You're great at this. Hinata blushed at the compliment. Naruto's thoughts again drifted to the thought that she may like him. No, Hinata's just modest. It doesn't mean she likes me. So, Hinata, how high up can you fly? Hinata turned slightly redder. I've flown pretty high. I had to stop though, because it gets cold too high up. Wanna take me up? I'd like to know my limits with this power if I ever have to use it again. Naruto asked. Hinata nodded shyly. Of course, Naruto-kun. Great. Race ya. And with that, Naruto took off towards the sky, going as fast as he could. He started off so fast, he created a vacuum where we used to be, collecting water droplets and making a soft boom. Naruto Uzumaki had just broken the sound barrier. And Naruto-kun. Wait, Hinata yelled, flying as fast as she could after him. If you go too high you can't breathe. Hinata frantically followed the orange dot that was Naruto. Please, let him be okay. Naruto was laughing giddily. The wind was flowing through his hair, and his jacket was flapping wildly. He shut his eyes and thought, this feels like pure freedom. No evil stairs, no mean villagers, no nothing. Just me. And Hinata-chan. He was starting to like that idea. He was reflecting on his thoughts heavily, too heavily. He didn't notice his lightheadedness. His eyes were shut, so he didn't notice his spotty vision. Before he realized what was happening, Naruto had passed out. His upward motion carried him a few hundred feet further, until gravity caught up with him. Naruto started to fall back down towards the ground. Hinata saw Naruto stop flying up and hoped he had realized there was no air this high up. Hinata had taken a deep breath before chasing after Naruto, knowing the dangers. She stopped and watched Naruto slowly start to fly back towards her. She smiled, glad he was okay. As he came closer to her, Hinata was ready to explain the dangers of flying too high, hopefully without fainting. When he shot past her, she figured he was being his over-enthusiastic self. Then she realized he was facing up. And his eyes were closed. Hinata gasped and activated her Byakugan. His chakra was out of balance, and she immediately knew he was unconscious. No. Naruto-kun. Hinata sped after him, flying as fast as she could. Please, let me catch him. Hinata was growing closer each moment, but so was the ground. She gave an extra burst of speed she didn't know she had in her and grabbed his arm, slowing down little by little. Oh thank God. Naruto weighed a lot more than she thought he did. And he was slipping. They were still about 400 feet off the ground, and a fall from this height would kill him. Hinata frantically dropped as far as she could before his hand slipped from her grasp. Hinata tried to catch him at a different angle, but it was too late. He was going to hit the ground, and it was going to kill him. Naruto-kun. Hinata screamed, flying at top speed to catch him. When Naruto hit the ground after free-falling for 200 feet, everyone noticed. Kakashi and Sakura hurried over to see what had happened. Even Sasuke was walking towards them. Naruto? Sakura asked no one in particular. What happened? Hinata? Hinata had arrived moments after Naruto crashed, and was on her knees crying next to Naruto's badly broken body. He passed out while we were flying, Hinata said through her tears. We need to get him to a hospital. Kakashi hurriedly picked up Naruto's mess of a body and started to jump off when Sasuke spoke up. The Dobi's alive, isn't he? I heard Sylar tell him he absorbs anyone's ability unless he's trying not to. I don't think he's trying right now. Kakashi understood and told Sakura to touch him. All eyes were trained on Sakura's hand to Naruto's. After a small shimmer of light, Naruto's skin started mending, but his bones still protruded his skin. Why isn't he healing? Hinata asked, a little less frantic now. His bones have to be put back in manually, Sakura said, hoping she didn't get picked for the disgusting task. Maybe not. Let's see if anything happens. Sasuke shot a ball of Akari at Naruto that dispersed throughout his body, and after a moment the bones began to retract into his body. Sasuke smirked, tell Sylar he was wrong. Sasuke walked back to his training spot, not wanting to be a part of the scene. Naruto's eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the light for a moment. What just happened? Hinata was holding back tears. Sakura looked horribly pale. And did Kakashi look a little less nonchalant than usual? He couldn't tell. They both sighed a sigh of relief and walked back to Sakura's training. Hinata spoke softly. I couldn't see catch you when you fell, Naruto-kun. I'm sorry. Naruto gave a wide smile, but I'm okay now, Hinata-chan. We'll just train some more and next time I fall you can catch me, no sweat. Hinata gave Naruto a puzzled look. Even though I almost killed you still want to train with me? Of course, Hinata. Who wouldn't want to train with you? Besides Sasuke team. He doesn't count. Hinata gave a small smile and burst into tears again. No, Hinata-chan. I didn't mean to say anything to make you upset. Naruto jumped up and rushed over to her side, his arm around her. And Naruto-kun. I'm not as sad. I'm crying because I am so happy. You can do that? But that's so weird. Hinata turned to face Naruto and realized their faces were inches apart yet again. Don't faint, don't faint, don't faint. Hinata fervently thought. Naruto's hand gave an almost unnoticeable squeeze to her shoulder, but Hinata noticed. Is he Hugging me? Hinata's head landed between Naruto's shoulder and chin, making him smile. Well, at least I know she likes me now. He looked down at her dark blue hair. Well, better get out of this position before she passes out again. He laid her on the ground face up and took her ability. When Hinata came to, Naruto was floating around, throwing shuriken at targets on trees. And Naruto-kun? Naruto turned around quickly and shot over to Hinata. Hinata. Are you okay? You freaked me out there for a second. Bio. I am fine, Naruto-kun. Thank you for asking. Hinata blushed, and stood up. So, Hinata, do you want to fly some more? I wish I could, Naruto-kun. But my team has training as well today. Sorry. Hinata looked down ashamedly. It's okay. Wanna fly around later today? After team training? I wish I could, Naruto-kun, but father expects me to be home so I can train with him. And be called a failure over and over. Maybe when we both have time then, Bio. I'll see you around, Hinata-chan. Naruto landed and ran over to Sasuke to absorb his ability and train more. Hinata-chan? Hinata was lightheaded all the way back to teammates' training ground. What do you want, Dobi? After Sasuke had charged Naruto, he went back to his routine of training. His control had gotten strong enough so he could consistently reach the tree, but something was still missing. The power behind it was never consistent, and the chakra tube would have a bump in it where the Akurai was most concentrated. He knew he needed to make the tube more rigid, but didn't know how. I just came over to train my Akurai, team. You mean my Akurai? Sasuke was frustrated at his own incompetence at training and Naruto was the perfect target to take it out on. Why can't you just get your own attack to work on instead of taking everyone else's? I didn't intend for this to be the epitome of irony for a Sharingan user to say, but it fits. No? Naruto looked at him confusedly. What's your problem, Sasuke team? If you want me to stop training in your Akurai, then fine. But if you're in trouble and I could have saved you using this attack, don't blame me. Naruto stormed off towards Kakashi and Sakura, leaving Sasuke to seethe in peace. Damn bastard. I hope he never understands how to perfect that stupid attack. Kakashi-sensei, is there anything I can do to train some more? Sasuke team won't let me borrow his stupid Akurai. Bio. Kakashi sighed. And why would he not let you? Naruto kept yelling, how should I know? He's just being a big baby about me getting a better ability. Sorry Naruto, but I'm busy with Sakura. Maybe later? Naruto seethed with anger. What do you mean later? You're not doing anything. Naruto, just ask nicely if you can use Sasuke's Akurai. Kakashi flipped a page in his book. Naruto was shaking with anger. He shot into the air, leaving an indentation in the ground a few feet across. He flew up high, and let out an angry scream. He crossed his fingers in the appropriate seal and yelled, just as loud as before, Taju, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Hundreds of Narutos came into existence, creating a large shadow below. All of the Narutos immediately started to beat each other. Naruto flew directly into a few, making them disperse. They were all throwing punches at each other, throwing shuriken and kunai, anything to make the others disappear. 10 minutes later, all that remained was the original Naruto and one other clone. Naruto yelled and flew his fist straight into the clone's face, dispersing it. Naruto was panting from exertion. I feel better. An invisible thread. The Chunin exam was tomorrow, and Naruto had perfected flying. He could stop on a dime, now, and accelerate in an instant. Sasuke still hadn't let him borrow his ability, and Kakashi still hadn't done anything about it. If you want to borrow it, ask. You need to work this out by yourselves. Consider it teamwork training. Was all Kakashi said about it. The day before, after Kakashi had dismissed the team, Naruto asked Sakura something. Hey, Sakura-chan. How do you tell if a girl like you? I don't like you, Naruto. Leave me alone, Sakura said coldly. No, not you, Bio. This is someone else. Naruto blushed and looked away. This caught Sakura's interest. Who would like Naruto? Besides Hinata, but that was so obvious even Naruto couldn't miss it. Then she realized it was Naruto. He would probably miss that. Who do you think likes you? It doesn't matter, Sakura-chan. Bio. Just tell me how to tell. Please. Naruto was blushing and unusually soft-spoken about this. It made Sakura feel weird. Well, sometimes, a girl is mean to try and show she doesn't like the person, when she really does. Naruto nodded, and was paying very close attention. Do you notice if she is constantly fixing her hair or smoothing her clothes when she talks to you? Does she try to touch you or have an excuse to get you to touch her? If she doesn't, though, that doesn't mean she doesn't like you. Does she look at you a lot? Sakura paused here to let Naruto answer. I really haven't noticed yet. Bio. Should I look for it? Yes. If you catch her looking at you, and she keeps on looking, she's confident and she may make the first move. If she looks away as soon as she sees you noticing her looking at you, she's shy and probably won't say anything about liking you unless you say it first. Sakura paused and took a breath. Finally, smile at her. If she smiles back, she may either be being nice or she may like you. If she smiles a little and looks away, she probably likes you and may be wondering if you know she likes you. Didn't they teach you this in the academy? The girls had a class where we learned to arrange flowers and flirt to blend in if we were on undercover missions. Well, we might have had that class. I probably skipped it or slept through it. Bio. Anyway, thanks Sakura-chan. See you tomorrow. With that, Naruto ran off, probably to go to Ichiraku's ramen bar. Well, this should be interesting to watch. Sakura thought. I wonder what Sasuke-kun's up to. Sasuke realized what was missing in his attack. Something needed to wrap around his main beam of Akurite to stabilize it and add more attack power. The spiral around it would be pure chakra, hopefully acting like a screw instead of a nail and increasing the Akuri's drilling ability. He charged up and fired off the attack and it drilled a hole about halfway through the tree. Sasuke chuckled darkly in his head. Now all that was left was to cut down on the charge time. Itachi. I'm getting stronger. His inner victory was interrupted as a pink-haired girl came over to him, squealing and fawning over him. Sakura, go away. I'm busy. She lowered her head and walked off. Sasuke didn't care where she went. Naruto was busy stuffing his face with his third large serving of miso ramen with roasted pork fillet at Ichiraku's ramen bar. Now, whose power should I have for the exam tomorrow? Flying is good, but I don't know what to expect. Bio. It could be indoors for all I know. So what does that leave? I could take Sakura-chan's healing, but I could be able to take that at any time. Same thing with Sasuke team's stupid power. Like he would let me anyway. So that leaves Sailor-sensei. His power would be great in any exam. I could see exactly what I need to do. That's perfect. Bio. Naruto augmented his mental victory by pumping his fist in the air, catching the attention of Ayame as well as her father. Oh? What's so exciting, Naruto-kun? Ayame, the owner's daughter, asked nicely. I just figured out the ultimate way to win the exams tomorrow. Bio. Ramen bits flew out of Naruto's mouth as he yelled. Well, that's good. Father and I will be rooting for you, okay? Thanks Ayame-chan. Naruto finished off his final bowl and left the money on the counter. He quickly turned and left the stand, and bumped into a short, brown-haired academy student. Konohamaru? What are you doing here? Boss. Udon and Moige want to know if you'll play ninja with us, Core. Konohamaru, I'm busy with the Chunin exams right now. Can't you ask later? But Naruto. We want to play now, Core. Konohamaru whined. Naruto sighed. But I really need to do this, Konohamaru. Sakura was wandering through town, and heard Naruto and Konohamaru arguing. Aw, he's so cute, Naruto. You should play. I'll help you. Sakura was looking for a way to burn time anyway. It could be fun. Hey, Naruto, is that your girlfriend? Well, kind of. Naruto got a punch to the face that sent him flying. What makes you think I'd date a guy like him? Sakura screamed at Konohamaru. No. Boss. Don't die. Moigi and Udon crowded around Naruto as Konohamaru continued to yell at Sakura. You crazy witch, Konohamaru yelled back. How dare you do that to our boss? You're not pretty enough to date him anyway. Konohamaru was flown back in the same manner as Naruto, and muttered to his friends, geez, with that big ugly forehead is she even a girl? Sakura had started to storm off, but heard what Konohamaru had said. She was now in a mad frenzy and Naruto and friends ran away from her. Konohamaru rounded a corner quickly and ran into a boy clothed in black with a wrapped-up object on his back. Next to him was an older blonde girl with a huge folded fan on her back. That hurt, you little punk. The older boy picked up Konohamaru by the collar and threatened to beat him up. Sakura was apologizing to no one in particular and saying she was only messing around. Stop, Kankuro. You're going to get in trouble later, she scolded. I just want to have a little fun before the boss shows up. I'll be fine. Hey, weirdo. Let him go, Naruto yelled at the strange foreigner. Kankuro smirked and dropped Konohamaru, who quickly ran behind Sakura along with Udon and Moegi for protection. Naruto charged at Kankuro, but Kankuro twitched his finger and Naruto tripped, sending him face first towards the ground. Naruto caught himself with his flight, and adjusted so he was hovering a foot off the ground. The blonde girl looked at him, surprised. "You bastard." Naruto was about to charge again, but a small rock flew and hit Kankuro in the head. What the hell was that? Kankuro turned his head to the source to find the last Uchiha sitting luxuriously in a tree. "What are you doing in our village?" Sasuke asked, tossing another rock in his hand. The blonde girl blushed. "He's pretty handsome." Sakura squealed Sasuke-kun, with little hearts in her eyes. Konohamaru, while impressed with Naruto's ability to at least hover off the ground, told him he was lame compared to Sasuke. Naruto crouched beside Konohamaru and put a hand on his shoulder. No. I could beat that guy, easy. Abayo. Konohamaru just looked away ashamed. "Damn it Sasuke. Why are you always making me look bad?" Kankuro was yelling at Sasuke to get his ass down there. "I hate show-offs like you the most." He took the thing off his back and the blonde girl asked him, alarmed, "You're going to use Karasu?" Sasuke could feel a fight mounting, until a dark voice said from beside him, "Kankuro, stop it." He immediately stopped, and put Karasu back on his back. "You're an embarrassment to our village." The dark voice continued, "Losing yourself in a fight like that. How pathetic." Sasuke looked at him, shocked. "He's as stealthy as Kakashi. I need to keep an eye on him." The red-haired boy was using chakra to stick to the bottom of a tree limb, and apologized for his teammate's idiocy. He started it, though. Kankuro's demeanor had changed completely. He was shaking in fear and sweating. His voice had gone from being arrogant to scared in a moment. The red-haired boy looked at him with careless, empty eyes. "Shut up or I'll kill you." The rock Sasuke had thrown at Kankuro rose menacingly as if to threaten him. All right. I'll stop now." Sasuke had body flickered beside Sakura and asked, "Hey, you, what's your name?" The blonde-haired girl blushed and said, "Who me? I'm Tamari." "Not you, the one with the gourd." The boy turned and looked at Sasuke, and the stone dropped to the ground. "Gaara of the desert. I'm also interested in your name." "I'm Sasuke Uchiha." The boys shared a stare down, which was interrupted by Naruto's yelling, "Hey! What about me?" "Huh?" Gaara, in the same bored voice, said, "No. I don't care." He started walking away and called after his teammates, "Let's go." The three flickered out of sight. Naruto was crouched next to Konohamaru. "You don't think I'm weak, do you Kono?" Compared to Sasuke, yes, Konohamaru said quite coldly. Naruto hung his head in shame. Kakashi had given the three their forms separately, and told them that they didn't have to take the exam unless they wanted to. Of course Naruto didn't listen to the dangers of the exam, and Sasuke didn't care either. Sakura was who Kakashi was most interested in. When he gave Sakura her application form, and told her about the dangers of the exam, he paid special attention to what she thought about it. "Well, I might as well. Not like I can get hurt, anyway," she said with a sigh. "Sakura, I'm very proud of you," Kakashi said, showing a rare moment of sincerity. "Even if you can't get hurt, this exam is grueling. You've grown up a lot. Keep up the good work." With that, Kakashi flickered away, leaving Sakura to beam in isolation. "Sailor-sensei," Naruto yelled, chasing after the man. "What do you want?" "I'm not teaching you anything today," he said, uncaring. "I'm not here for training this time. I was wondering if I could use your power for the exam tomorrow. Abayo. It'd be the best power to have." "Is that all? Fine." Sailor stuck out his hand and Naruto touched it, watching the dull light that transferred from Sailor's hand to Naruto's. "Now, go away." "Thanks Sailor-sensei. Hey, do you want to get some ramen with me? I know the best place to get it. Abayo." "No. Now, go away." But Naruto was flung backwards when Sailor stuck out his hand at him. After he crashed, Naruto stood up excitedly and asked Sailor, "How do you do that?" "It's so cool, Abayo." "It's another ability of mine. Telekinesis. It means I can move things with my mind." "Awesome. Why don't I have it then, if I took your ability?" "My guess would be that my intuitive aptitude is my first power, and it gets in the way of you absorbing my telekinesis." "Well that stinks. Having tele whatever sounds awesome, Abayo." "It's cool, believe me. Where I come from, I used it a bunch of times." "Oh? What was one way?" Naruto asked. Interested in Sylar's past. My personal favorite was cutting open the heads of others and taking out their brains to take their abilities. Naruto stood shocked. You killed other people? Why? Was it self-defense? Or were you ordered to? I just really liked killing. And it made me stronger, taking the abilities of others. You see, your ability is focused around your brain. So I took out other people's brains and understood how they worked. Then my brain changed around in order to use the abilities I just acquired. That's a little sick, sensei. More than a little, Naruto. Sylar was staring into space now, a small smile on his lips. There was a reason for it, though. With my ability comes a punishment, the hunger. It makes you want to understand everything you see. Admittedly, I wanted to be special, so it didn't help that I had a little hunger of my own. Noticing Naruto was speechless, Sylar continued, I sought out people with abilities, killed them, and took their powers. I was probably the second most powerful human in the world. Besides Peter. But Peter was weak, cared about everybody, didn't want to hurt anyone. You remind me of him. You even have his ability. Does that mean I can be the strongest, like Peter? Not really. Your ability is a weaker version of his. He just had to be around you, and he could use all of your abilities. No cutting, no touching, and he could use all of them at the same time. Maybe someday I could go back to where I came from, cut out his head, and give you his brain to look at. Thanks but no thanks, sensei. Wait. Does that mean you still have the hunger? No, you idiot. If I still had it, you and everyone who has abilities would be dead by now. Something's off here. In my world, there wasn't any chakra, so that must be a factor. I think. Chakra interferes with some abilities. Maybe that's why you have a weak version of Peter's power, and I don't have the hunger. It's somewhat peaceful here. Naruto gave a chuckle. Whenever you come eat ramen with me, I'll show you the most peaceful place in the village. Bio. Sylar gave a small smile. Thank you, Naruto. Later Sylar-sensei. Thanks for letting me borrow your ability. With that, Naruto ran off. He really is a lot like Peter. The next day, Team 7 met outside the academy at 3 p.m. When they got to the second floor, there was an awkward boy clad in a green jumpsuit with a bowl cut getting pushed back by two older Genin. You think you can take this exam when you're this weak? One of them said to the group of Genin that had clamored around the door. We've failed this exam 4 times. We know all the tricks they could throw at us, and we still failed. This exam is more grueling than you know. We're just weeding out those that would fail anyway. What's wrong with that? I agree, but, Sasuke said, an arrogant smirk on his lips, you will let me pass through, and also remove the genjutsu you've put on the surroundings. I'm going to the 3rd floor. A murmur swept the crowd of Genin. Sakura, you must have noticed first, right? Sakura smiled softly and then smirked. Of course, I noticed a while ago. This is the 2nd floor. Even Naruto threw in his 2 cents. I noticed when we came up too. Bio. One of the 2 Genin smirked. So you noticed. But all you did was see through it. The kid went to throw a sweeping kick at Sasuke, and Sasuke reared up his own leg to counter. The other boy who was getting thrown around before was suddenly between the 2, and caught their legs easily. Sakura was already analyzing him. He's fast. He saw that they would attack each other and moved himself between them. He's completely different from that kid who was getting knocked around earlier. Another boy with white eyes and long brown hair spoke up. What happened to the plan? I thought we were supposed to not draw attention to ourselves. The green boy blushed. Well. He looked towards Sakura. The girl that was on his team shook her head disapprovingly. He walked over to Sakura and said, Hi. My name is Rock Lee. So yours must be Sakura. We should go out together, he said with a massive smile, tooth sparkle, and thumbs up. I would protect you with my life. Sakura deadpanned at him and said, No way. You look so lame. Lee perked up at that, and said would you rather I looked like Lee? Don't show her that. Wait until the exams. His female teammate with her hair in 2 buns scolded. But Tenten. I must prove myself to the lovely Sakura-chan. The fountains of youth demand it, Lee yelled exuberantly. So weird. Sakura and Naruto thought collectively. Hey you. The brown-haired, white-eyed boy said to Sasuke. What's your name? When you want a Sasuke started. He was cut off by the other boy. Person's name, you should give your own first? I thought you'd say that. You're a rookie, right? How old are you? Sasuke started to tell him, but was again interrupted. You don't have to answer me, no. Sasuke was slightly shocked, but didn't let it show. How did he know I was going to tell him that? Sasuke grunted and turned to walk away, expecting Naruto and Sakura to follow him. Man, there's a bunch of monsters here. Tenten blushed behind him and thought he was cute. Sakura got excited and yelled after Sasuke and Naruto to hurry up and started pulling them by their arms. Tenten asked Lee where he was going. You and Neji go on ahead. There's something I'd like to test. Lee followed Team 7 into a large hallway, and stood on the balcony. Hey, you with the dark eyes. Sasuke looked at him and asked, what is it? Will you fight me right here? Lee jumped off the balcony and landed in a squat. My name is Rock Lee. When you want to learn more about a person, you give your name first, correct? Sasuke Uchiha. I would like to test my skills against the offspring of a genius clan. Also. Lee looked at Sakura and winked at her. Ah. Your hairstyle is lame, and your eyebrows are creepy. Sakura complained. You are an angel. Lee blew a kiss at her, which manifested itself in the shape of a heart. It drifted towards Sakura, and she comically dodged it by falling backwards. It hit the pillar behind her and made an audible ping. Oh. So that's what it is. Naruto thought with a grin. Sasuke screwed. Sasuke and Lee were exchanging touch dialogue, and eventually Sasuke charged Lee, who seemed to fade away as he sped to meet Sasuke himself. He threw a kick, and Sasuke knew he had to block instead of dodge. Sasuke threw up his arm, but was kicked anyway. Naruto smirked. Sasuke team deserves this. What the hell was that? Ninjutsu? Or genjutsu? Hey, fine. It gives me a chance to practice it, anyway. Sasuke's eyes took on a red tint, and two tomoes spinning around his main pupil. Sakura was fawning over how awesome Sasuke was, and he charged again. If it's ninjutsu or genjutsu, I'll see right through it now. There's no way Sasuke-kun can lose now. He's got the same advanced bloodline as Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke-kun just keeps getting stronger and stronger. The Uchiha clan is great. Sasuke got closer to Lee, ready to see through his trickery. He was shocked when Lee's foot uppercut him in his jaw, and sent him flying away. Yes, that is correct, Sasuke Uchiha. My techniques are neither genjutsu nor ninjutsu. Lee crouched and seemed to disappear and reappear underneath Sasuke. Yes, my moves are simple taijutsu, Sasuke-kun. They say the Sharingan can reveal all types of nin, gen, and taijutsu. Even if you see me move, but cannot react, then your Sharingan is useless. I believe there are two types of people among the strong in the world, the genius types and the hard workers. As Lee said this, the bandages around his hands started to unwrap. With this technique, I will prove that hard work surpasses genius. Suddenly, a pinwheel flew and pinned Lee's bandage to the wall. Everyone's attention was directed to the source, a tortoise with a headband around his neck. That's enough, Lee. The tortoise bellowed. Lee caught his bandages and flipped through the air, kneeling before the large tortoise. Sasuke kept sailing through the air, eventually landing painfully in Sakura's arms after she slid and caught him. I knew it. The bandages on his hands aren't for style. His hands are beaten and broken from training so much. Way more than Sasuke team. He didn't have a chance. Naruto smirked, and walked over to where his other two teammates lay. Lee was getting yelled at about how that technique was forbidden. Lee was apologizing and saying he accepted his punishment. The collective thought of Team 7 was, this is so weird. Here comes Guy-sensei. The turtle yelled. In a poof of smoke, someone who looked exactly like Lee was on the turtle's back. There were a few differences, such as the Jonin jacket and thicker eyebrows. Wow. You guys are the epitome of youth. Guy-sensei said loudly, striking an odd pose as he did. He has even thicker eyebrows. How is that possible? Team 7 yelled collectively. Super thick. Sasuke muttered. Super gay, said Sakura. At this, Lee was enraged and yelled with fire in his eyes. Hey! Stop insulting Guy-sensei. What do you expect? All you freaks keep showing up. How are we supposed to react? Naruto yelled at the boy with a shiny bowl cut. What did you? Lee was cut off by Guy saying his name. Oh. Yes. You fool. Guy threw a punch at Lee and Team 7 gasped. Lee was flung a few feet out, and sat up with tears in his eyes. The two shared a few unintelligible phrases and finally embraced, quite oddly. That's enough, Lee. You need no say it. Sensei, Lee yelled, much too enthusiastically. It's all right, Lee. Youth and mistakes go hand in hand. Lee was crying about how kind Guy-sensei was. Well, Lee, for starting a fight and almost using a forbidden move, your punishment will take place after the Chunin exams. Lee saluted and gave an enthusiastic yes. 500 laps around the practice range. yelled Guy, followed by yes. By Lee. Guy looked over at the three kids looking onto the scene with a mixture of shock, confusion, and disgust. "You guys," he started, "how's Kakashi-sensei doing?" Sasuke answered, "You know Kakashi? Know him?" Guy smirked. He was standing by Lee, and then was suddenly gone. He reappeared behind the three, and finished, "People refer to us as eternal rivals." No way. This speed. Is he even human? Sasuke thought, again shocked at the strength of others. 50 wins, 49 losses, that's the record. "I'm stronger than Kakashi," Guy said with a tooth flash and a thumbs up. "Sorry about Lee. I swear to this face, good guy pose, it won't happen again." Guy threw a kunai and knocked the pinwheel that held Lee's bandages down, setting them free. Lee began to rewrap his hands, and Naruto got a glimpse of the battered appendages. Lee jumped off and Guy-sensei disappeared. Sasuke was shaking with anger. "Oh well. Guess the Uchiha clan isn't so great these days," Naruto said, hands behind his head. "Naruto," Sakura berated. "Next time, I'll beat him," fumed Sasuke. "Yeah right. You just got your ass handed to you. You saw his hand too. He must have trained really hard, every day, way more than you. That's all this is." Sasuke's fist unclenched. "Sounds fun. This exam just keeps getting better. Ready to go, Sakura, Naruto?" Both gave resounding agreement and walked into the real room 301. They never could have guessed what awaited them. The first exam. Naruto and Sakura's eyes widened. Wow. There were so many Genin, from all of the major villages. They all look so strong. Sakura thought. "Sasuke-kun. You're late." A blonde girl had attacked Sasuke via hug from behind, and shortly after Sakura yelled at her, "Get away from him, Ino pig." "Why if it isn't Sakura?" Giant forehead as always, Ino said, a condescending tone in her voice. "Are you guys taking this exam too? Man, this sucks." A boy with his black hair in a spiky ponytail said, like it was too much effort to say it. Beside him was a large boy munching on some chips. "Oh, the idiot trio." "Hey," Naruto said, out of habit more than anything else. Ino ignored him and made a face at Sakura. "Sasuke-kun is mine." A loud boy with a dog on his head walked up and greeted them all. Beside him was Hinata and Shino, a boy in a trench coat that covered his body with a high collar that covered most of his face. He had dark sunglasses on. "Shikamaru, the lazy one," said, "Geez, you guys too?" Quite lazily. "Looks like the entire Rookie 9 are taking the exam this time. I wonder how far we'll get." Sasuke? You sound confident, Kiba," Sasuke said, acting as cool as usual. "We did a lot of training. We won't lose to the likes of you." "Shut up, Kiba. Sasuke team might, but I won't lose to the likes of you." Naruto was surprisingly collected. Hinata mumbled an apology for Kiba, but Naruto said, "Oh, it's fine Hinata. You don't need to apologize for him. He'll be eating his words later." Kiba was just about to yell back, but an older boy with white hair and round glasses approached them. "Hey, you guys need to be quieter." He put a hand on his hip. "You guys are rookies, just out of the academy, right? This isn't a picnic." Ino glared at him. "Who do you think you are?" "I'm Kabuto." "But instead of worrying about that, look behind you." The Rookie 9 turned around and saw an angry team on Rain Ninja glaring at them. "Those are ninja from the Hidden Rain. They have short tempers." Kabuto went on, "Everyone here is nervous about the exam. You should quiet down before you make unnecessary enemies." "Kabuto-san," Sakura said, "is this your second time taking the exam? You seem to know a lot." "Nope. This is my 7th time. Since you're all rookies, I'll help you out a bit, with my ninja info cards. I really dislike author's notes, but it's difficult for me to write this scene without singing ninja info cards in my head. Sorry if it seems low grade." Sakura asked what ninja info cards were, and Kabuto responded, "They're basically cards which have info burned onto them with chakra. They look blank unless I use my chakra on them." He demonstrated by channeling chakra into the white card, and a map of the nations appeared. "This is the distribution of ninja from every nation." "Do you have information of specific people?" Sasuke asked, maintaining his cool aura. "Oh? Are you worried about somebody?" "Of course I have information on individuals, though it's not perfect. I even have some stuff on you guys. Tell me something about them and I'll see what I've got." "Gaara of the Hidden Sand and Rock Lee of the Leaf." "Oh, you know their names? This should be easy then." Kabuto took 2 cards from his deck and laid them on the ground. "Okay, first is Rock Lee. He's a year older than you guys, 20D rank and 12C rank missions completed. His sensei is Mido guy, and recently advanced greatly in taijutsu over the last year. This is his first time in the exam, and his teammates are Neji Hyuga and Tenten. Next up is Gara. Weird, he's never done a D rank mission. But he's done 8C ranks and a B rank as a Jinan. Since he's a foreigner, I don't have much info. It seems he returned from all of his missions without a scratch, however. So, then, is he everyone here like D them? Hinata asked quietly. Yup. Everyone here are the elite Genins of their village. This isn't going to be easy. Naruto started trembling, and Sakura noticed. This isn't like Naruto. He must be down. I should cheer him up. Inside Naruto's head was a different thought. Listen up, you bastards. My name is Naruto Uzumaki of the Hidden Leaf Village, and I won't lose to any one of you. Now they'll seek me out and I can prove myself. Hey, Ino yelled at Sakura, what is he doing? Sakura thought blankly, of course he's not scared. He's too stupid. A pair of Jinan were talking about Kabuto. He thinks the Sound is a minor village? One who had spiky black hair held behind a Sound headband which also had leather flaps that outlined his jaw. Let's help him add to his information. The Sound ninja can be quite vicious. They moved quickly through the crowd and leapt out and attacked Kabuto. One who was clothed in a bushy cape, long sleeves, and wrappings over his entire face except his left eye leapt out, pulled his right sleeve up to reveal a strange metal device with holes drilled into it. He threw a wide punch at Kabuto, who dodged backwards and allowed it to barely pass by his nose. Kabuto's glasses cracked, however. What's going on? He dodged it, but his glasses still cracked, Sasuke said. Shikamaru commented about how he probably got hit on the nose. I see. Cool attack. The thing on his arm takes in sound waves and he makes them into an attack with his chakra. You could be devastating to groups like that. Naruto thought, smirking. He liked understanding, it was pretty fun. Kabuto fell to his knees and vomited on the ground. Kabuto-san, Sakura yelled, and ran up to check on him. Naruto was close behind, ready to defend them both. The spiky-haired one said, write this down on your cards, hidden sound ninjas are definitely future Chunin. A smoke erupted from the front of the class, accompanied with loud booming voice yelling sit down and shut up you worthless bastards. A group of older leaf ninja were at the front of the class, all in the same uniform. Except the source of the loud voice, who was wearing a black trench coat. He had 3 major scars across his face, along with a wry smile, that showed how happy he was to be the intimidating person he was. Thanks for waiting. I'm Iviki Morino, the proctor for the first part of the exam. He pointed a gloved finger. Sound guys, stop what you're doing. Do you want to fail already? The one with a wrapped face apologized and gave an excuse for their behavior. There will be no fighting without permission of the proctor. Even if permission is given, you will not kill your opponent. Those who disobey me will fail immediately. He paused, to let his instructions set in. Now, instead of your current seating arrangement, you'll pick one of these numbers. You'll take your seat and then we'll hand out the exam. Sakura quietly gasped and looked at Naruto, expectantly. Naruto looked bored, actually. Well, it kind of figures to take a written test. We are in a classroom. Naruto started shuffling like everybody else to get a number. After being seated, Naruto saw he was next to Hinata. Oh. Hey Hinata-chan. How's it been? Gee, good, Naruto-kun. She looked away quickly, and fidgeted her fingers together. Well, I guess this means I get a chance to realize she likes me. Naruto blinked, and Sylar's power kicked in. Holy crap. Hinata likes me? What do I do? What do I do? Do I tell her? No, that'll just make her freak out and distract her during the test, which is bad. I'll just confront her about it after the exam. That should work. Well, let's do our best, Naruto-kun. Of course Hinata. There's no way this exam will trip me up. Abayo. The two of them turned their attention to Iviki, who was explaining the rules of the exam to the group of Jinan. Rule 1, everyone starts off with 10 points. If you answer a question wrong, you get a point off. All answers wrong means 0 points, which means you fail. Second, this is a team test, which means if one of you fail, all of you fail. Sakura interrupted, what? Why is this a team test? Shut up. You don't have the right to question me. There's a reason for this. The third rule is if any of you are caught cheating, it's 2 points off for each offense. So there will be some who lose all their points during the exam and will be asked to leave. One of the many examiners lining the wall said menacingly, We'll have our eyes on you. Realize that the pathetic ones that get caught will only be destroying themselves, Ibiki continued, as ninja trying to obtain the rank of Chunin. Be proud ninjas. And the final rule, those that miss all the questions will fail along with their 2 teammates. Oh shit! Thought Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto. The exam will last 1 hour. Begin. Sakura looked over the questions, and realized they were difficult. Most required both book smarts and experience, which the majority of people in that room didn't have. Just don't get 0 points, Naruto. Naruto was silently laughing. I love this ability. Of course this test isn't a measure of our smarts. It's seeing how quietly we can gather information. They practically gave it away with telling us we get 2 points off for every offense of cheating. If it was about smarts, then they'd throw us out if we cheated once. Plus, what's with question 10? Naruto looked at the bottom right corner of the paper. It read, this question will be revealed 45 minutes after the test begins. Listen to the examiner closely before answering. Like Kakashi says, look underneath the underneath. Naruto looked over the questions and answered the 2 that he knew. One was a math problem, his ability pretty much told him what went where and solved itself. The other was a cryptogram, his ability's worst nightmare. Awesome, with this, I'm sure Sasuke will cheat and get his answers, and Sakura-chan's smart enough to know all of these anyway. Now all we have to do is wait on the 10th question. Slowly, other Genin realized the true purpose of the test, and used their various gifts to get all the answers they could. One made an eye out of sand and controlled it to float around and see the answers. Another had a puppet join the ranks of the proctors to write the answers for him. 2 used their special eyes to look through the others and see the correct answers. 2 used their clan's animals to help, and yet another listened to the strokes of the pencils around him to determine the answers. Sasuke cheated by using his Sharingan to copy the movements of the person in front of him. Naruto was lounging around, waiting on the 10th question and thinking about Hinata when a kunai flew by him and made a thud in the paper of a Genin behind him. What was that for? The kid asked a proctor. You messed up 5 times. You fail. The other 2 on his team get out of here, right now. Naruto silently sighed and propped his head on his hands. Hinata must have thought he was freaking out, because she said, and Naruto-kun, you can look at my test if you want. Naruto looked at her confused, then realized what she meant. She must think I was freaking out over the exam. She's so thoughtful. No thanks, Hinata. I can do this on my own. Bio. Hinata's smile got a little smaller as she turned back to her own test. He doesn't need me. Ino had waited on Sakura to stop writing and used her family's jutsu to transfer her consciousness from her own body to Sakura's. She memorized the answers Sakura had put down and then transferred to Shikamaru and Choji. Teams started getting told to leave due to cheating. By 5:15, 13 teams out of the original 51 teams were gone. Ibiki was particularly impressed with Gaara, who was incredibly calm through the psychotic warfare he was waging on the Genin. Kankuro was escorted to the bathroom by a proctor, really his puppet Karasu in disguise. Now that the trash is gone, I guess it's that time. Ibiki thought. We will now start with the 10th question. A dramatic hush fell over the crowd, only to be broken by Kankuro walking back from the bathroom. No one noticed when he threw something small at Tamari. Now, let me explain the rules of the 10th question. For this question, you have to choose whether or not to take it. What? What happens if we chose not to take it? Tamari exclaimed. Then your points will be reduced to 0, and you will fail along with your other teammates. Well then of course we'll take the 10th question. A random waterfall ninja yelled. And now, the other rule, Ibiki calmly continued, if you chose to take it, and answer incorrectly, then you will lose the right to ever take the Chunin exam ever again. Akamaru barked loudly while Kiba yelled, what kind of stupid rule is that? There are guys here who have taken the exam before. Ibiki laughed quite evilly. You guys were unlucky. This year it's my rules. I am giving you a way out. Those of you not confident enough to take the 10th question take leave now and take it again in 6 months. Well, this is weird. Naruto thought, trying to figure out what was going on. I'm not sure I can answer this 10th question. But if I chose to get out of it now, then Sasuke and Sakura-chan also fail. Both choices are bad, but which is worse? I'll take the question. No way will I miss this question. Bio. Naruto started shaking in excitement. This is going to be awesome. Bio. Maybe Sakura-chan will see how calm I am in this and... Oh no! Sakura-chan. Naruto had a sudden revelation. She's going to try and be nice. She thinks I'm going to fail this, And quit just so I don't stay a Jonin forever. Crap crap crap. Naruto started shaking even more, and he was right about Sakura. Naruto. Why aren't you raising your hand? If you miss this question, you can't ever be Hokage. Always acting like a fool who only knows one thing. I'm sorry Naruto, but I don't want to see that impossible dream of yours crushed. Naruto was freaking out more. People were quitting left and right, 6 teams already. How can I make her know that I'm not going to back down from this? Naruto shakily rose his hand, and Sasuke and Hinata looked at him shocked. Naruto stood up and slammed his hand down on the table, yelling, I will not run. I'll take your stupid question. Even if I'm a Jonin forever, I'll still be Hokage. I'm not afraid. Naruto plopped down and let out a huge sigh. That should do it. Sakura gave a small smile. Yeah. Naruto's too stupid to be afraid of this. This is your last chance. Your entire life is riding on this decision. This is your last chance to quit. Ibiki was taunting Naruto. I'll follow my unbending words. That's my ninja way. Everyone had smug smirks on their face, their fears blasted away. 78 left. More than I expected. Well, stretching this on any longer wouldn't make any difference now. Good decisions. Now, to all of you who remain, I congratulate you on passing the first test. The entire room looked at him like he had grown an extra head. What do you mean? What about the 10th question? You could say that those 2 choices were the 10th question. The purpose of this test, as most of you have guessed, was to cheat to get all the correct answers. No average Jonin could know all of the answers, so we planted a few Chunin who knew them all among you. As he was explaining, Naruto sat with his arms crossed and nodded. He actually understood. Ibiki started to take off his headband, and revealed his bald head. Those that cheat poorly, however. The crowd gasped as they saw his head, scarred with gashed and massive holes. Understand this, in some instances, information is more important than life, and on missions and on the battlefield, some people will risk their lives to get it. I want you to remember this. Information in your hands can be a powerful weapon for your comrades and for the village. So we had you cheat. Those that cheated poorly aren't qualified to be leaders in combat. Tamari was still confused. I still don't understand the final question. Ibiki smiled and put his headband and do-rag back on. The final question was the true purpose of the test. The take it or don't take it choice. Obviously, these were painful choices. Those who choose the latter fail along with their teammates. Those who choose to take it could lose the chance to ever the test again. A true leap of faith. Here. Let me explain again. Say you guys become Chunin. Your mission is to steal a secret document. The amount of ninja, their abilities, numbers, etc. is unknown to you. Now, do you accept or not? Because you don't want to die, you don't want your teammates to die, can you avoid the dangerous mission? No. Naruto was smirking, taking the indirect praise he was receiving. No matter what the danger, there are some missions you can avoid. The ability to be courageous, and survive any hardship. This is the ability needed to become a Chunin captain. You have made it through the first test of the Chunin examination. I wish you luck. Hell yeah! Burst out Naruto. Suddenly, a mask burst through a window, and unfurled to reveal a woman in her 20s dressed in fishnets and a trench coat standing in front of a black banner. This is no time to be celebrating. I am the examiner for the second test. Anko Mitarashi. Now let's go. Follow me. Everyone in the room just kind of started at her. Bad timing, Ibiki said, coming out from behind the banner. Sakura mumbled about the examiner being very Naruto-ish. 78? Anko yelled at Ibiki. You left 26 teams? This test was way too easy this time. Bah, that's fine. I'll cut them in half, at least. I'm getting excited. I'll explain everything when we change locations. Follow me. When they stopped traveling, they were facing a fence with massive trees and gnarly roots above the ground, giving the appearance of an incredibly creepy place. Anko told them they were at Training Ground 44, otherwise known as the Forest of Death.